Welcome to the Granite Zero podcast. Thanks for coming on. Give me your time.
Yeah, and you, mate. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roundabout trying to get you on. It was like first you had your holiday and things like that, but finally here.
Yeah, it's been for some reason it's just got Lad Bible and then James, and it's just people have suddenly just all wanted to have a chat. So which is nice, which is good. So
yeah,
it's more than happy to sort of help.
Yeah, well, next time we'll have to definitely do it face to face because Zoom
that'd be good.
Is a bit of a pain in the ass, but
yeah, but it's it is what it is. We're all busy people, so
yeah, exactly. But yeah, first of all, I'd like to just thank you for coming on, really, because the amount of times that you ask people that you find interesting if they fancy coming on, they're like, no, I'm okay, thanks, it's fine, or they don't even give you an answer back, which is a pain in the ass. But yeah, but first up, like, most of my listeners know I'm not a big reader, right? My dyslexia hates the fact that I pick up a book and try and read. It's like, no, you're not doing it. But my missus will vouch for me on this. I haven't put your book down yet. It's like the first time I put it down is literally to speak to you face to face. But I'm plowing through it. But it's what I really admire about the way you've done the book is how short the chapters are as well. So it actually keeps you more engaged when you're reading it. Was that something that you sort of thought, you know what, that's what I would do if I was reading a book? Or is it just how it happened?
Yeah. It's by default, really, because it was done, match day, and so it was just, and instances and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was just a natural break in all of them. So you go Leeds away, or you'd go Arsenal away, or you'd be Millwall at home and stuff. So it did. But I wrote it myself, which they were I had to fight for to start with, because they were quite keen for it to be ghost written.
All right.
And I was. Which was, again, was it was a leap of faith on the publisher. But once they got, as you say, the first draft, I think they realised that it was, it was an authentic voice, and as a result of that, they were happy to run with it, and it paid dividends in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, in relation to chapter length, it wasn't something that I actually looked at and went, I'm going to make them shorter so that it keeps people's interest. But it was what I was keen to do was that it just works chronologically. So it was just just natural breaks. So
it definitely worked well, 100%. Like when I was reading it, I was like, oh wow, I'm on like chapter 10 already. It's like usually when I pick up a book, I look at it and go, there's too much in this. But like, it just kept me more engaged, and the fact that how engaging the story is itself, right?
Yeah,
for especially for like the likes of sort of my generation, this is gonna make you feel old. When I first noticed that you signed up on the 6th of March 1986 to do the
4th of March 84.
Yeah. So I'm 87 baby me. So when you got pinged up, yeah, it's gonna make you feel old now.
No, mate, you're only as old as you feel, and I feel fucking old. So.
I love that.
So yeah, it's like 57 going on 68. So
yeah. Well, I'm 35 going on about 64 with the military background, and my fucking body's torn to pieces. But yeah, like growing up for me, like you get the films like The Football Factory, even though it's shit, Green Street, but things like that. And I was always like intrigued by the side of football hooliganism. Not that I ever wanted to do any of that sort of stuff, because it's fucking a bit fucking mad for me. And football should be a passionate thing, but not to the point where you want to kick fuck out of people. But yeah, when I found out that the movie ID was based around your book, and now reading your book, I was like, I gotta get this guy on. It's fucking such an interesting.
Yeah, ID was a strange one. I I got approached by a writer. I was in Edinburgh acting. I was doing a show in Edinburgh with and a mate of mine who was in the show with knew a guy that had written a couple of written some bits and pieces for the BBC and stuff. And so he sort of I owe him a little bit. So I wrote the original story. But I wrote ID absolutely purely because I wanted a part in it. I didn't write it for any other reason. I wrote it because I thought it would help and would propel me a bit further up the ladder. And I was at the bottom rung at the time and stayed there for pretty much forever. So that I could get a part. So I wrote the film hoping that, originally that's hoping that I could play me.
Yeah.
And then the original story got read and and within a week there was 4 or 5 options around of companies that wanted to option it to make it, which is pretty rare in filmmaking, even sort of at any time, but particularly back then in what was the early 90s. So I wrote ID, so the original story, in order to get a part. And then I'm not going to lie, I've only ever seen the film once. I watched the film at the premiere.
Yeah.
And I've not watched it since. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Is one, and I've spoken about this before, it's not an ego thing, is I've lived it, so I don't really need to fucking watch somebody else doing it.
Yeah. I get it.
And it, I think the director, which was Phil Davis, I think he did an amazing job, to be fair, with what he had, which was not a great script. It worked for me again, but then it's just my opinion, and lots of people love the film.
Yeah,
but I think it could have been a different animal, and some of the people that were in it didn't do it for me. So, but that said, it's a cult classic. People love it, and maybe I should revisit it and watch it. And but I think people fell in love with the story rather than the dialogue and the performances. But it's really easy, particularly as an actor, to be critical about somebody else's performance. So and the film has stood the test of time, and people are quote lines from it and love it. And so on that basis, is what do I know? So it's but it was for me it was to try and further my career, which he didn't do, and I just kept quiet. I didn't sort of advertise the fact that it was about me, or because I then decided that I wanted to try and forge my career as an actor, just because I wanted people to give me the work because my ability to do my job rather than what I used to do. Maybe, and it was more difficult back in the sort of 90s. People weren't that interested, and in fact, they were a bit against the fact that people about what I'd done. So, which again is understandable, because they just don't get it. And why should we employ an ex-undercover cop when who hasn't really been to drama school, when we can employ somebody that has? And so why take the risk? And I can't say I blame them, really.
Yeah, but on that though, it's, if anything, you've done the best form of acting. I mean, you managed to infiltrate one of the top hooligan gangs within the country, and they didn't really have an inkling. So
the way I looked at it was, I could infiltrate South London's finest, convince them that I was a painter and decorator from Wandsworth who was illiterate and couldn't read or write.
Yeah.
And I was up for a row, and I worked one day a year, but it was really stressful. Just implied that I was that I did armed robberies. I worked one day a year. It's really, really stressful, but it pays well. And I managed to convince all them. So I had this, I suppose, false belief that I could convince the great British public that I was Henry V. The problem is that you need that opportunity. So You know, it was a 2.5 years improv. It was a 2.5 year improv, to be fair.
Yeah.
And you take the, and it's no different to being an actor, I don't think. And there are a number, you know, I know a couple of guys that are now acting that used to do what I do. Yeah. Because yeah, it is a big test, and a couple of very famous actors who I've had conversations with said the same, which is like, you know, we played it and you've done it for real, which is lovely, you know, particularly of people that you have massive respect for as actors. But yeah, in a way it is true, but it's all about getting that break and getting that opportunity.
It's like that in quite a lot of jobs as well. Like sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. And like you said, you did probably the greatest bit of improv for 2.5 years, and they're like, yeah, okay, cool, cheers for that. When you would have thought like a director could have gone, right, what sort of roles could we put him in here? We could put him in, you could play him as a copper in I don't know, for example, The Bill, something like that, or you could put him down as a gangster or a hooligan or something like that in a different movie. It's like,
you know, I got really lucky. I had really good representation. I had fantastic agents who worked really, really hard and tirelessly on my part.
Yeah.
But you know, people maybe I was, you know, the way I looked at it in the end, because I'm pretty honest and pretty direct, is maybe I was just a bit shit, and that I didn't get the gigs because I wasn't good enough, or you know, I was a bit too dimensional, and who knows? I don't know. I never had.
Yeah, maybe.
Having said that, having never had the opportunity, then to do a decent part, or you know, that's substantial, is, I suppose we'll never know unless somebody suddenly decides, I tell you what would be a good idea, maybe we'll cast him. But
yeah, maybe.
But that's, you know, I'm not holding out any hope on that. But you know, I'm here if anyone wants to, you know, offer me a bit of work, I'm more than happy to try. But yeah, I think, and that's why it's a natural progression to go from what I did, you know, and it come to an end at 23 and think, right, what options have I got open to me? I've got, and at that point it was, I had two options, which is, you know, I'm really good at lying, and I'm really good at convincing people that I'm something that I'm not. Yeah, so I could either become a politician, which really wasn't one, or an actor. I didn't really have a lot of, you know, there wasn't really you know, I didn't do brilliantly at school. I didn't have, you know, a massive, I couldn't fall back on a career. You know, I'd been in the police cadets since I was 16. And I was now 23, and the operation had concluded. I'd done what I considered to be, you know, the pinnacle of my work at that point, and it was like time to move on and do something else.
It's mad that you managed to do what you did at such a young age. So starting at like 21, you must have been shitting a brick when you first going for it.
When you're that age, the frontal part of your brain's not really developed. So you just, that's why, you know, young men do crazy shit till they're about 25, and then suddenly it's like, oh, fucking hold on a minute, I could end up getting hurt.
Yeah.
So actually, it didn't really. It was just a job. I looked at it, and it was an amazing job. And it's like, you know, fuck me, I was going to get to travel around the country, making out I was a football hooligan, infiltrating these people and trying to convince them that, that, you know, I was this guy who was up for a route of football, and it just went on from there, really. And yeah, I'm looking back on it now, is, you know, I look at kids that work for me, or you know, who are 21 years old and frankly can't even fucking pull their socks up, and you're like, it's like, gee, you know, and you know, so it's the thing about covert work, and I suppose, and I imagine you've spoken to others, but you know, and if you don't, then when you do, subsequently moving forward, is you don't suddenly get to an age and suddenly someone goes, oh fucking hell, now you're 30, you could maybe do a bit of covert work. It's it's just, it's either something you can do or you can't. And it's a really specific there's lots of specifics, but it's not for everyone for sure. But it's a very, 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 very small minority of people that are able and then willing and stupid enough to think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. So on the build up to starting the task that you were selected for, were you given like a parameter for you call it a character for your character to have, or did it just evolve as you were
mate,
going
it was
through?
it was a app. Well, you know this, you've been in the military, mate. It was what you would affectionately know as a complete and utter shit show.
Yeah.
They just went, this is what you're doing, good luck. That was it.
Fucking hell.
That was it. There was no fucking background. There was no, this is what you could do. There was no false identities. There was an absolutely fucking nothing. And the only thing I had was I got a business card made up, which Spectrum Decorating, Jim Ford with an accommodation address in Croydon. So I'm turning up at Millwall, having never fucking been there before. When they're all starting to get a little bit good. There'd been a load of people next just before we came in. Already, they'd already tried it once, and I'm sort of trying to convince these people that I'm 21 years old. I'm Jim. I'm a painter and decorator from Wandsworth. You've never seen me before. You don't know who I am. And then they go like that, back it up, and you go, oh, here you go. There's my business card.
Yeah.
It's like,
cheers for that.
And which you then go is later on. They're like, you gave us a business card. Yeah, I don't know what it fucking says, because it's just like he does that, which was the guy I worked with. I said, I haven't got a clue what it says on there. It's just like, because I can't read or write it. I can't read, so I don't know. So I'm giving you something where I haven't got a clue what it said on it. But it's it was just the whole thing was, to start with, was just to say it was beyond bad.
Yeah.
And then we quickly realised, unfortunately, we got assistance not from the Metropolitan Police, but from the Greater Manchester Police, because they were doing a similar operation, and they had an amazing guy who was heading up their covert team.
Yeah.
Who was the real deal, proper. And within weeks of meeting him, we had false driving licenses and UB signing on cards, and cars all registered in our different names. A proper sort of legend.
Yeah.
Which is, but the only reason we got that was because he stepped in and went, "What the fuck? This is a joke."
Yeah. Because it's fucking dangerous as well, especially for you guys doing it. Obviously, you've signed up because you want to do it. You know the risks, but obviously these guys are fucking nutters. So if they suss you too much, they're just gonna kick fuck out of you, basically, aren't they? Because they're always going to be. If you were
sussed out, we had it put on us, and we managed to blag through it. But and I think look, on reflection, they were asking us, hoping that we were going to come out with something that was viable and feasible, so that everyone could just carry on, because they were not, they were nice guys, and and we would in a way using those to get to where we needed to get to, and I just it wouldn't be, what would worry me and the concerning bit is not the main guy or the main guys.
Yeah.
If they punch you and then they just walk away, it's all the wanky hanger-ons that want to who then come in and kick you in the head when you're down on the floor unconscious and jump all over you and all that. The guys that
don't really have any fight etiquette.
Well, they're not brave enough to step up and start it, but they're quite happy to step in and finish it.
Yeah, I got you.
When everyone's done all the fucking hard work. So yeah, it's but you the minute you start thinking and worrying about stuff like that, it's not the job for you. The minute you start thinking, oh my God, could get sussed here, or I might get, so what happens if they realise, all right, mate, the minute that happens, you start to get into that mindset, is you need to get the fuck out.
Yeah, because obviously you're going to have to go in 2-footed into this and believe in yourself that you are Jim Ford from Wandsworth or wherever you said you were from. Sorry, pardon.
Yeah.
you have to believe that, because as soon as you give up a little bit of, as soon as you go, right, I'm actually James and I'm a fucking copper, still in your head, you're like, shit. Then you start doubting yourself almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, it's back to the acting thing. It's just pure method, isn't it? You just you take that character, you assume it and you do it. But it's like, but and I know people they're really keen and hope that you just go, yeah, and I got fucking right into it, and it properly spun my nut out, and I went fucking proper off the rails. I was fucking sweat. It was a fucking job.
Yeah.
All right. And I just wanted to do the best job that I could. And I managed to keep, my job was to be, I got called out by the sergeant, and he just said, the problem with you is, you're a fucking hooligan. And I'm like, of course, and of course I'm a fucking hooligan. And I'll tell you why I'm a fucking hooligan, because that's my job. Yeah. We ain't going to do this from the fucking boiled sweets and the friends and family exposure. Isn't going to happen.
Exactly. No. You have to, basically, you got to fully immerse yourself into that lifestyle.
Yeah, and if you want to do it properly, if you want to catch the nasty, horrible people, and you want to put violent people who are just who are there purely because they just want to fight whenever they can.
Yeah,
and you want to put them, take them out of society, which the way I looked at it is, it's a big moral question about what we were doing, whether it was right or wrong, or and how it makes you feel and all that stuff. But you just, once you're in it and you're doing it, you don't start to question about. Or you do all the time, actually, but you don't look at it and go, we really shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Because then you shouldn't have signed up for it in the first place. Don't do it. It's like when you go Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever, and you're like, you don't sit there when people are fucking bullets flying over your head going that. We really shouldn't be here because it's not our fucking war. Exactly. It's like you don't do it. You can focus on the fact that you don't want to get fucking shot.
Yeah.
So you do everything, and you don't want your mate to get shot, it's all blown up. So you fucking do everything you can to make sure that it's not you or your squadron or any of your mates.
Yeah. So while you were going through all that, obviously you're starting to build up rapport and what could be classed as friendships with these people. Obviously, you're starting at the lower levels. Was it harder to gain the trust of the ones above? Say that.
Yeah, it took a bit of time, but we worked hard. We went into the pub where we knew that one of the top boys was, and he ran the pub, and we frequented that pub in the sort of lunch times, and so that when we went in there at match day 4 months later, the barmaids knew who we were, and nobody gave us a second look, because we were. We went to the bar and your usual, and you're like, yeah, good. I haven't seen you this week, so I know, we've been busy, been working out up country and all that stuff. So, it does. It takes a bit of time, and you need a bit of luck, and but ultimately, it's you need to focus on what you're doing and fucking work hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't just fall in your lap. You have to work hard. The same with everything. You have to,
exactly.
you have to graft. You have to make it work. And the way of doing that is that people go like, oh, yeah, it must have been really difficult going into the pub at lunchtime every day and fucking drinking. And you're like, well, actually, if you think about it, it is quite difficult, because actually I don't want to be in that fucking pub, and I don't really want to be drinking.
Yeah, and also
but
your job wasn't to go in just to drink. You're obviously clocking everything that you're seeing. You're taking mental notes. You can't exactly go, right, let me get my book out. Hold on.
no, and not only that, but you can drink and drink and drink, but the adrenaline is so high, you fucking never get pissed.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask about the adrenaline rushes that you must have gone through.
Yeah, massive adrenaline rushes, but actually alcohol and getting drunk. And then what you do is you get back to the office or the house in which we were subsequently, in which we were working out of, and the drive home was absolutely fucking horrendous because all of the adrenaline will go and you're driving home and as you're driving, you're just getting more and more pissed because the adrenaline is disappearing. And you're just fucking like windows open and fucking falling asleep, and because when you left, you were actually fucking as sober as a judge.
Yeah,
the time
it's got to be mad as well. It's got to be mad because obviously the way the football is, you obviously start drinking at lunchtime or even earlier for a 3 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, there were sort of there were opening hours back then. It wasn't it wasn't a Weatherspoons for breakfast at 9.
Oh yeah, good point.
It was, the pubs they weren't really open until midday, and they were closed at 3. And then but it's amazing the amount of alcohol that someone can consume between 12 o'clock and 2:30.
Yeah.
So, it was it's a drinking culture. So, and you're not going to get away with turning up and asking for a fucking lime and soda.
Yeah. Can I just have a shandy, please? Absolutely not.
Exactly. Well, unless you're working with the sergeant who likes to go out on the first night and ask for 2 halves. And you're like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, we're working. And I'm like, fucking, we won't be working. We won't be working anywhere if you carry on with that. Dressed in your fucking Calvin Kleins and in your Yves Saint Laurent shirt and your boat and your deck shoes. What the fuck are you doing? Yeah. Driving the first night out, driving there in his Mark II bright penis red Golf GTI with a fucking windsurfer strapped to the roof. I'm like, what the fuck? In South London, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing in there?
It's one of those, isn't it? Know your audience. Come on.
But I mean,
you're going to Millwall.
But we got we for some bizarre reason we pulled it off. I think maybe we were just, I don't know. I think they probably looked at the two and thought there's absolutely no way these two fucking idiots can be old Bill.
Yeah.
It's just, they just like, he's too young and he's too fucking stupid. So
makes you think how he became a copper.
Mate, joking aside, he was a really intelligent guy.
Oh, was he?
And, yeah. And as you get older, you realise because we had a fractious relationship doing what we did because he just But now I look back on it, and I mean, he was just pretty much a legend, to be fair, because he just didn't want. He fucking hated it.
Yeah,
it just wasn't his. But he just fucking hated the people. Thought they were, he wasn't a big fan. He wasn't a great fucking football fan. He wasn't that fussed. But he was, it worked, and he was of the four of us. Now, absolutely, categorically, he was the bravest of the four of us, for sure. Absolutely, 100%. He was the one that was the most courageous, and that was because he was looking after us three and trying to fucking sort us out. And every time he went out, his arse was hanging out like a windsock. He absolutely fucking hated it.
Yeah, I bet.
But he did it because it was his job, and he wanted to try and do the best job possible.
It's got to be.
He just did not. He just was not. There were times he just went, "This is fucking not for me."
Yeah,
and I'm like, fair enough. So, but
still managed to fucking crack on. That takes some fucking balls, especially when you know that you're literally out with one of the most notorious football firms within the country, and you know for a fact that they're going to get in a ruck, whether it's the team they're playing or an organised meet between another London-based firm.
Yeah,
you know something's going to kick off, and that, like, the adrenaline rush that you get even on a night out, and you think, well, hold on, something's going to happen. But the fact that you guys knew that you're doing it, and you've got that fine line between being a copper, like serving the community, and having to show these boys that you're fucking nutters like them. It's fucking madness when you think about it.
It is, but what you look at is that, again, it's your job. You've got to be as convincing as you can. I never instigated, never looked to have a row or a fight with anybody. But if someone is running at me wanting to punch me in the fucking head, and I'm there, and I know they're going to punch me in the head, I'm going to make sure that I punch them before they punch me.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing about all of this is, you ain't going to get the evidence at the back. You ain't going to get the respect and the kudos standing at the back. You're not going to get accepted and elevated up the ranks standing at the back. So it's, it's a very, very, very fine line, and it's a very difficult one to, and you've got to remember that there's thousands of things that are going around in your head, like in milliseconds. If I do that, I stand there, I've got this guy looking at me, I've got that guy. If I fucking instigate it, then is it agent provocateur? Am I causing the fucking row? I've got to remember who started the fight. I've got to remember how many people, all of that is all going on in your head. And you've got to try and remember it. And then you've got the added thing where you're thinking, some fucker going to recognise me? Is there going to be, some copper who's suddenly going to go, fuck, it's Jamie doing out there and fucking with them.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have all of this, all emotions, and then you've got self-preservation. Then you've got you're working with a sergeant who couldn't fight his way out of a plastic bag. So you think, oh, for fucking. So you've got all of that you're dealing with, and you're 21 years old, and it's like,
yeah, it's craziness. It's craziness. Like, what was the worst one, if you can like pick out of all the many different meets that you probably went to? What was the one where you thought, fuck, this is not going to be good? Like, whether it's
Arsenal away.
Arsenal away.
Yeah, in the Arsenal home end. So what was the North Bank at Highbury?
Yeah.
In the FA Cup, went in with the guy, the landlord from the pub, and a couple of guys that I recognised, and then a load of other guys that I didn't, and ended up standing in the Arsenal North Bank with 15 proper geezers, me and the sergeant, who had turned into a jellyfish and fucked off. He just fucked off. He just looked at me, walked up the steps and just give it that. And I just went, oh, fucking no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there thinking, I can't go because the fucking landlord from the pub's here.
Yeah,
if I go, that's it, we're fucked.
Yeah, it'll be literally your
clock, and they're in their mid to late 30s, proper grown, fucking proper men, right? And me, 21 years old, in a pair of dungarees, thinking, and then they start singing "No One Likes Us" in the middle of the fucking Arsenal North Bank, and I'm like, I remember singing like that, "No one likes us, no one likes us," and as I'm singing it, I'm thinking, no one likes us, I'm gonna fucking die here.
Yeah, fuck.
And it kicked off, and it was, yeah. I mean, just, and again, you know, I've said this. One thing you learn, particularly when even from a young age, is when if you're in a row or whatever, you never go down, do you?
No.
If you go down, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So it's like I weren't going down. So I was windmills and all sorts. And all I remember is just spilling out onto the pitch and then getting nicked. And then the fucking copper instead of leading me the one way around the ground, he went the wrong way and led me towards 10,000 Millwall. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it.
Yeah.
He's leading me towards 10,000 Millwall, and you could feel as we're going there, you can feel his arse going as we're heading towards it, because they're all going mental.
They're going mental, and they've obviously just seen
for me,
their own.
Yeah, and for me, it was just like, I'm like, got this massive platform, and I managed to break free from him and dive in the crowd. And then it was from then on, really, we were sort of made.
Yeah, that was as though that was like the shining moment. From then on, it's like, he's one of us, definitely. There's no way you would.
Well, it's just, it was, and in a way, I was, because I fucking did stand in the Arsenal North Bank. I did fucking have a massive fucking free for all in with a load of geezers, and spilled out onto the pitch, and then and then managed to break free and dive in the crowd. So there wasn't any reason why they wouldn't. But yeah, I would say that was in a funny way, that was the best day.
Yeah.
On the actual, on the way that it worked, on the mechanics of the day, that was the one where I was the most scared.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I was just like, if this goes wrong, this is fucking going to end horrendously.
Yeah, definitely.
We are, right. We're not right. We're not down behind the goal, just 6 people in front of us. We're right in the fucking middle.
Arsenal on the left and the right, above and below.
8,000 all around you. It's like fucking Zulu dawn, man. We were fucked. So it was just like, but it was, so that was probably the scariest day.
Fucking hell. But
there's loads of them. There were great days and funny days and unbelievably sad days. And, there was a gamut of emotions all the way through the 2.5 years, really.
I bet.
But the constant of all of it was every day was another day, and it was another risk.
Fucking definitely. That's fucking mad. That's made me go, Jesus. I couldn't even imagine that. Like, it's bad enough on a night out when you get surrounded by about 2 or 3, but 8,000.
Yeah, but it's, you get. Again, it's just, my job was to be there, and that was, and that's maybe naive on my part. It's like, plus there's certain qualities that you need to work in covert environments, which are, you need to be a bit brave, but you also need to be you do need to have a real air of arrogance.
Yeah.
Where you fucking do this, of course. So who am I? Well, what's the fuck's got to do with you? It's like, you have that arrogance, and you have to be a bit brave, and you have to be knowledgeable about your law, and you have to know, when you can, and you have.
Sorry, I forgot to press the record button.
Right, we're good. So, it's not an exact science, basically, working in that way, and you have to do and sometimes you get it wrong, and and some of the consequences are dire if you get it fucking badly wrong, and then unfortunately for us, most of the time we got it right. So it's and it's an amazing experience in your early 20s to be working, to be doing that sort of work.
Yeah,
it does. I joined it as a spotty, thin, pasty 21-year-old copper who had worked up. I've been quite lucky and worked in plain clothes for quite a while, really, considering. And I left it a much wiser, fatter man. And it's experiences that I would never ever change, but I was very keen when I left that it was going to be. It was, it was a big part of my life in relation to, certainly at that point. but it wasn't what I didn't want it to define me. It was, you know, I wanted to do. There were other things that I wanted to do, and fortunately for me, I've managed to do some absolutely crazy shit mental shit things, like mental stuff, business wise and career wise and everything, and that's just, you know, it's just a little cog in the wheel, to be fair.
Yeah. So,
whereas, you know, it could have been just a bit. It could have just all been about that.
Yeah, and you couldn't. But in the same breath, you couldn't blame you if it was, because the experience that you had doing that, like, you could make a career out of that. You could go and help teach. Not that you can teach like covert policing, because obviously you either got it or you haven't. But little hints and tips and things like that you could pass on, bit of knowledge.
Well, you do use. I mean, I've used it in. I've used it, but I mean, it's, you know, there are, you know, that convincing people that, you know, the people that work for you, and convincing them that, you know, they're doing a good job, and trying to, you know, and getting really good people, you know, to jump on board and start our businesses and just say, look, you know, we can make this work and we can do that stuff. You know, it's, mate, frankly, to have a film made about yourself by the time you're 30 and not be dead or in prison is a pretty fucking not a bad achievement.
No,
it's all right. No, yeah, I'll take that.
It's all right. We'll take that.
But again, for me, and you learn as you get older and as you mature and all of that stuff, and you get more grumpy because you get older and all the other bits, and you look back and reflect and all that stuff, is I've realised that I'm much, much better at the journey than I am at the once you get there.
Yeah.
So I love the journey, but when I get there, I'm like, I've fucking done this. I need to do something else now.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I've done in moving forward from that. It's all the other careers that I've had, and the other jobs and the other businesses that I've run and owned and worked and set up and what have you, is I get to that point where it's, you know, it's all really good and really great, and it's like, right, let's something else now.
Yeah. I swear I read on like I can't remember if it was like a Wikipedia thing on you or something. But did you dabble in a bit of stand-up comedy as well, or did I make that up?
I did. I did I stopped performing when the kids came along.
Yeah.
And I was adamant that they had a good education because I didn't.
Yeah.
So and in order to do that, I thought that if you paid for it, that you got something a bit better. And invariably, I suppose, the statistics are that you do. I would argue that's probably not the case. You do play a lot more sport, and you get to do drama and a bit of art, and you do that a bit more in a much nicer environment.
Yeah.
But schooling is all about the quality of the teachers. So mine got lucky. So I was absolutely adamant that. So I stopped in 2003. So I had 2004 actually, and so I had the opportunity to then go and do pilot season in LA, which is like you go there and you just hike around for basically for 3 months trying to get on a pilot. And then hopefully that pilot gets picked up, and then you get your break. But I had a really young family at the time, and I just thought, I can't go, because if I go, it's just, what's the point in having kids and I'm not going to be here? So
yeah, totally get that.
So when I can actually do something about it, and so I stopped, and then I went back to exercise that muscle when I wrote the book in 2012, and it came out in 2013. And I saw Howard Marks do a one-man show on Mr. Nice. And I went and saw it with a mate, and we just went, we should do that about the book. So in order to exercise the muscle and get me back, I started doing some stand-up. And that's a proper adrenaline rush, that.
Oh, what's scarier? What's scarier? Arsenal away?
Well, again, it's I never got. It never not concerned me because obviously you want to be good and you want people to laugh at you.
Yeah,
I always went out thinking I was of the philosophy of what is the fucking worst that can happen is people aren't going to laugh.
yeah,
You know, I mean, I wasn't doing it in order to pay the mortgage, so I didn't have to go gigging all around the country and taking gigs or jobs that I didn't really want to do, but I needed it because I needed the money. Like lots of stand-up, lots of comedians do. So I was in a quite fortunate position in a way. That I didn't need to do that. So, and I think what that does is it gives you, it relaxes you a bit more because you're not doing it and it's just like,
I get that.
I've got to get another gig. It's got to be for. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and that's one thing I think that if I'm going to do anything, I might go back and do again.
Yeah, it's as though
it's just
actually being in the moment will probably work better for comics than thinking, well, what happens if they don't fucking laugh? But yeah, you're
I
right.
mean, you always have that at the back of your head, and it's just like, but ultimately for me, it's just like, you know, you're not going to die. You're not going to, you're not.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going. I can't feed my kids. I can't pay their school fees. I can't pay the mortgage. It's like they're not going to laugh, and it's just like, and I mean, fortunately, they did. So not all the time, but most of the time, and it was I never died on my arse. And then I did that, and then as a result of that exercising that muscle and starting to get good gigs and doing 10 minutes and doing the Commedia and starting in London clubs and that, we then went and did the one-man show which we did in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And for the first week we had pretty much the sound crew, the lighting crew, and all the techies came to the show in the first week. And then word got out, and by the end of the run, which was like 4 weeks, we were doing 2 shows a day. We were sold out. Yeah. And as a result of that, we then got picked up by the comedy guys off the curb, and then went and did it at the Soho Theatre in London, did it for a week there, sold out there. So
living the dream.
And then and then went Latitude Festival, and then finished in New York off Broadway.
Wow. Okay.
So that was crazy. And then that was again one of those moments where, in order to pursue and move forward with the comedy, is I needed to do it all the time.
Yeah.
I needed to start gigging, like doing 2-3 gigs a week. And the kids were of that age where I didn't want to, they were 13, they were teenagers, and I needed to be about.
Yeah.
And so, and I'd always been at home with as a family, so I chose not to do it.
Yeah, it's amazing what having a family does in terms of changing your sort of mentality on things. I was very similar with when I left the military. That was because I was like, well, I'm sick and tired of leaving the wife and kids. But being in the Air Force was my dream ever since I was little. My dad did it, my granddad did it. I was like, I'm doing it. I did it, and then it was like, oh, I need to make a change here. Sometimes your own dreams have to go on the back burner.
Well, yeah, but you did it, didn't you?
Yeah,
you've done it. So it's like park that, and then off we go, and it's let's find the next challenge.
Yeah,
and whatever that challenge be, but it's and we all want to be. I mean, all of us want to be successful at whatever we do. You want you just you want to be good at what you do, and you want to be successful, and and you I think it's just so the way I've always looked at it is I would never ask anyone to do something I wouldn't do myself, and work-wise is business is not difficult for me. It's not rocket science. You got to believe, basically you got to believe in your product.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that 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 you employ the best people possible in order to do, and that they believe in the product too. And the way that you employ the best people possible is you pay more than everyone else, and then they don't, and then they don't leave because they're being paid more with you than they are with someone else, and then you make that that working environment as pleasant and as positive and as fun as you can, at the same time as making sure that if you earn, let's say for argument's sake, 100 quid, that you don't keep it all to yourself.
Yeah.
And that you spread it about. And it just, all that does in very simplistic terms is it just creates an environment where people want to work. And the problem, nowadays, when we're going off kilter here, but
yeah, you crack on.
Is that for me, is that 20% of people do 80% of the work. Yeah. And the other 80% really fucking aren't that fussed. Yeah. So you just want to make sure that, or you hope that you're in that 20%, and that the people that you employ are in that 20%, and you got a fucking good chance.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. And yeah, you're right. It's a strange sort of time that we live in at the minute with work environments and things like that. It's PC gone mad. It's not like it was back in the
Well, we got that. I mean, there was, I don't want to get political because that's one thing I'm not, is about the commentary about the fact that we're work shy and this, and everyone gets all bent out. I can't fucking believe that people would say that, and that we're lazy, and we fucking are.
Yeah, there are a lot.
We are.
Yeah,
we are. I mean, just fucking face it, right? We are. And ask anyone who employs people or anyone that's run their own businesses, particularly when you're employing a number of people. We're not talking about 2 or 3, but when you're employing, 80, 100 people.
Yeah. Excuse me.
It's the vast majority of those people are there just for the paycheck. So you need to 100% make sure that the people, and it's much more difficult as the numbers increase in order to make sure that you get that 20%. So you learn I learn is that you reduce your numbers down and make sure that you surround yourself with people, and you can do with 10 people what most people will do with 100. Yeah. Because you've got a workforce that are dedicated and driven and want to work. And for me, and again, that's only my personal opinion, and I'm happy to be shot down, is we are, but for me, we are in an environment where people aren't people are fucking lazy and don't want to work.
And very entitled. A lot of people, they're very entitled.
Well, nowadays, everyone wants to be a manager, and they've only been in the job 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Why am I not a manager? It's like, because you've been in the job fucking 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And why haven't I got a car? Well, it's because you don't get a car until you've been here 2 years, you will get get a car in 6 weeks if you fucking sold anything. And
you'd probably progress if your attitude wasn't so far up your fucking ass. It's unreal. But yeah, I totally get all that. So here's a quick question going back to the football. Were you a football fan before you joined in? So I read in the book, obviously you played rugby as a kid, and obviously the story of your dad turning up when you were playing rugby.
Yeah, mate. Imagine that. So for those who haven't read the book, I went to the grammar school, which I didn't last long, mate. I went to the grammar school. I was only there for 1.5 years, and I got expelled. But I got into the grammar school. I had the 11 plus, and I passed it, much to everyone's fucking surprise, me included. And went to the grammar school, and they played rugby, and I fucking loved it. And I was quite good at it. I was all right. And I played scrum off. I was all right. First match ever. We scrumming down. We're about 5 minutes into the game. I bent down to put the ball in the scrum, and then all I can hear is Oscar 4, Oscar 3, 4. What is that? And I stood up, and both sets of the scrum, and the scrum stood up with me. So my guys and the opposing team all stood up, and then all in fucking unison, all turned and looked. And then coming across the pitch was this fucking dick on a police motorbike with a fucking bright day glow yellow jacket on and a thing, and then parks the bike on the basically by the touchline and gets off. Right, I just never forget this ever. He just took his helmet off and looked at me and went, "All right, son." And I just remember looking at him, and I went, "No, not really."
Cheers, Dad. Cheers for that.
And anyway, we got. I can't remember if it's in the book or not. So we start playing, right? And because the radio's on,
yeah,
we're halfway through the first half or second half of it, and suddenly there's this big shout comes up, and there's this chase coming up, and they're commenting on this chase all through South London. The whole fucking game stops. Everyone comes over and stands and listens to the chase for 10 minutes while they're going on about 80 miles an hour. He's going left, and then eventually everyone got. I think they, from memory, I think they got away. So, which made it all that much better, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, could have done without that, really.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, what was it like growing up in like South? Was it South or Southeast London? You grew up in
Southeast London. Yeah, so we were Abbeywood, Thamesmead, Belvedere around there.
Yeah, I know. I used to work around there for Loomis, carrying the cash in transit back in the day.
Oh right. So yeah, it was. I had an absolutely fantastic childhood.
Cool.
I had 4 of the best mates you could ever wish to have. Yeah, and we'd known each other since we were 4 years old, and we all grew up together. And I see them sporadically now at funerals and the odd message, but just because life just moves. But
it does, yeah.
But just fucking top guys, and we had an absolute scream from when we were 4 years old until we were 18.
Yeah.
And then everyone started, getting back, since back then everyone got married and had kids at a really early age. So yeah, I fucking hated school with an absolute passion. I just, primary school was all right, but secondary school, I just didn't get it. I still don't get it, to be fair. It's really difficult when you got kids. I'm just like, what are you doing teaching me cosines and giving me slide rules? And well, if you want to be an engineer, and you're like, I fucking don't want to be an engineer. I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah,
I did everything.
Yeah, literally
every single thing I did in order to get out of school. I invented that. I had I bought a dummy cast off of Exchange and Mark for a £5, which I got from my paper round, and made out for 6 months. So I had a complicated green stick fracture, so I couldn't do any work because I had a broken arm until my parents like found out that there was a parents' evening, and then went. Brilliant. And everyone's no, he's coping so well with his broken arm. That was an interesting conversation with my dad when he came home.
I was going to say, I bet that was a nice
conversation. I was lucky I didn't come out with a broken neck. That one. Yeah. Parenting was a lot different back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I managed to feign I had asthma. I used to fucking wheeze and cough and stuff, and I'd go asthma clinic on Wednesdays. Never went. And then was from when I was 14, I was running a market stall on Wednesdays and Saturday with 2 girls that lived on our estate. So I was doing that on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Fucking earning a wedge as well. Fucking
yeah, I was there. I fucking good money too. They were really fair. They were brilliant. They definitely gave me my work ethic. They were fucking blinding. Just 2 really good girls. You know, they were the talk of the estate because they were a couple of girls living together, which did not happen back then. It wasn't, it was just one would just be like, but because, you wouldn't have argued with either of them.
Yeah.
They'd give anyone a good run for their money. But they were just absolute grafters. so direct, so straight, and that I owe them an awful lot, because they taught me they taught me business, really.
Yeah, because obviously, like, South and Southeast London is a completely different sort of. Well, it seems like a completely different sort of place. Like, especially with the youths of today, with these road men and road kids, or I don't know what the fucking they call themselves, but it just seems like
it's a different. The country's a different place to live now.
Yeah.
We are in extraordinary times.
Yeah, it's
in relation to where it's quite extraordinary how we've managed to get to this point. And and not only is it it's just the fact that it's some of this shit's acceptable. It's just like,
I know.
You just look at it, and it's it beggars, but some of it just beggars belief.
Yeah.
So you look at the police now. I mean, and it's, they're at an all-time low in relation to their morale, and in relation to how the public perceive them, and what the public think of them, and there is a large justification as to why the public think that.
Yeah.
And but who'd want to be a copper now? Fucking not me.
Yeah, exactly. I look at it. It was one of the options that I was going to take when I left the forces. Was quite an easy progression, quite possibly to join a police force. I never did in the end. But when you look at it, it's like, who would want that job? Like,
people... Well, I think that the clue is I think it went from, I think that when it started to go, when the slippery slope for me is when it went from a police force to a police service. They now want to be called a police service, and then you go, right, okay, but you're not a service, are you really? Because you don't fucking, it's a police force. That's what you're there to uphold the law, and they're. But again, it is that adage of 80%, 20%.
Yeah.
And in that environment, it's far more heightened, because they are, they're front line. So, you end up with with lots of, good serving police officers who are just thinking, what am I fucking doing? 'Cause I'm getting no backup here.
Yeah.
I'm getting no support. I'm working my absolute arse off. I'm working with people that they're only here because they want to get a paycheck at the end of the day. And I'm going to go and do something else.
Yeah.
And so, and the pay ain't great. So people look to do all the, all the stuff that incentivized it before, like, with rent allowances and providing you with, somewhere to live and all that. Yeah. It's just all gone. And we are in extraordinary times, and I don't really quite know what the answer is. Well, I think I do know, but it's just not what people want to hear. So
no. And what always gets me, and I see it on different social media things, is people are always quick to get their phone out, start recording when it's like gone past the actual crime that's committed, to try and catch the police officers out doing something or whatever it is. And it's like,
yeah, but again, it's just, you have to either be taught how to deal with that, in order that you deal with it properly, and you just have to be, and again, it's not fucking hard. You just have to be professional about what you do, and and we live in a world of social media. That's and it has a lot of positives. There's a lot of positives about you get to do stuff. You get to do stuff like this, and people get to watch stuff like this that ordinarily 10 years ago they wouldn't have been able to. And some would say, "Thank fuck for that." I mean, it's it is what it is. But I think it's it's all about education. It's all about giving people the tools to do their job properly.
Yeah.
And if you do that, and you need, they've announced 20,000 policemen. They fucking took them at 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They need 45, 50,000 policemen. Again, the thing is though, but who's going to want to do it?
Yeah, exactly. Who wants to do it? Who wants to do it?
No,
I don't. I get pissed off when I have to deal with the kids just on the estate that I work at doing security, because they're fucking annoying little shits. You just want to give them a bit of a pasting, but you're like, you're 12 years old.
I mean, you got to step back from that, and you got to look at. And again, I don't sound boring, but you got to look at why they're behaving the way that they are. It's not them. It's they're in the situation that they are because they're not being managed. They're not being taught. They're not being, they are. Their home life is that you're in that situation, because if their home life was good, they wouldn't be behaving like that. Yeah. So you have to. I mean, I'm not trying to justify their behaviour, or maybe I am. It's just that they are where they are, but actually it fucking ain't their fault. It really is not, because it's again about educating and about discipline and about giving them structure and all of the stuff that that we all know that that people need. But again, it's just but it costs money and it takes time. No one's got time anymore. No one's just everyone wants everything fucking yesterday.
Yeah, they want it yesterday, or they want the quick fix, or they want everything needs to be like sharp.
It just doesn't work like that. Yeah.
So, but moving slightly on from that sort of thing, are you still a Millwall fan, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't do that for 2.5 years, and then so maybe again there is an argument. It was just a job, and the thing. Yeah, it was just a job, but I've supported them ever since. Yeah, and I've been a few times.
Excuse me.
Where was Chelsea away when they win the FA Cup when we won? Was it the semi-final of the FA Cup? Was it the final of the FA Cup?
2004.
Slip back. Is that what it was? Yeah, it must be.
Yeah. I only know that because I'm a United fan, and we played Millwall in the final.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it, at Cardiff, wasn't it? So, we had Sunderland in the semis, and Mick McCarthy was manager, so that was nice. That was quite good to turn that over. So that was good. So they're a fucking great club. They did so much in the local community now. They're a fucking great. They're just a great.
Yeah, I can actually add to that a little bit, actually, because I'm actually I'm in communications with a fellow that works for Millwall. I'm organising another charity football match against. Well, last time I did it, it was against Spurs, and then I was looking around for another team. I know Arsenal do one. I've got I'm in comms with West Ham as well. But then I looked at Millwall, and being a military person, not that I've ever supported Millwall or anything like that, but I know for a fact that they love the military community. So that they're on the top of my list to try and get to play the Millwall legends in a game of football, hopefully sometime next year. So that should be good. And I know they do loads in the community. I've seen on their different websites and whatnot. So
they do, mate. But then most of that, most of the clubs do now. West Ham do, Palace do, or certainly I can only talk about the London clubs.
Yeah,
you know, Arsenal are massive. Tottenham have got a, you know, they all, and as they should, they got to give back to their community, because it's about, you know, and they've now all got really good academies, and you know, and they're looking to try and, you know, homegrown talent, and they throw a lot of money at it, as they should, which again is great. That's the really good side of football, and it's and that's what I suppose the money is brought to it. And the huge transfer fees go a long way towards helping and assisting in that. So yeah, but for me, Millwall, yeah, it's just, you know, they're a, you know, and they got a fucking fantastic support, and they've got great support, and yeah, for me, it's just, it was a no-brainer, and I'm proud of the fact that I do support them. And I know it pisses a few people off, probably a lot of people, like, you know, we don't want you because you're a snide and all the others. But I'm really, again, you know, we don't really give a fuck. Ultimately, I support them because they're a great club, and they've got a great fan base, and their day will come.
Yeah. So before we actually like start closing off, I think we've got 10 minutes left on this one.
Yeah.
When you got the call to go and do the undercover work, did you get the choice on what team you were going to, or was it no? You guys are going to Millwall, you guys are going to West Ham, to ICF, and
that's it.
Chelsea and the Headhunters, or so you were like, right, you're going there.
Yeah, but I was working South London too, so it was a natural.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
You know the area.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. To be fair, it's a fucking interesting subject. I think I could literally chat to you for hours, and fucking next time I have to do it face to face and get a few beers in or something. But I just want to clarify one thing. I read it in the book, and it made me piss my pants when I read it. So, Big John Fashanu. He's definitely black though, isn't he? He's not a white guy.
According to the sergeant, he's white. So there you go. That says all about the first night out, doesn't it? First night out, and he announces to the fucking Millwall fucking faithful that John Fashanu is white.
Oh,
it's just quite extraordinary.
Mate, I was literally pissing myself laughing out loud while I was reading that.
And people are going like, you know, is that true? And it's just like, I can assure you, everything in the book is absolutely fucking true. And there's 60% of the stuff that I wanted to put in the book that's not. So you got 40% of what went on.
Oh,
there's 60% of stuff that fucking's not in there. Because it's just the way that things are.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because people just, they're nervous and panicky, and yeah. I had a page, you know, that was a page turn with a lawyer, that book.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you have to get it all signed off before it was released? Yeah. And then and two of the guys that I work with who were happy for me to write the book, the other two read it all and made their comments about stuff that maybe I'd forgotten. So, but yeah, people go, "Oh, is the John Fashanu thing true?" Who'd fucking make that up? How could you make that one up? Well, I'll tell you what, that's a good idea. I'll put that in. That'll make everyone laugh. He thought John Fashanu was fucking white. Brilliant.
Extraordinary. But we got away with it.
Mate, it's truly an extraordinary story as a whole, and you're an extraordinary person. I'm definitely gonna get you in for a proper face-to-face. But it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to have you on, genuinely.
Anyway, it's an absolute pleasure.
And we definitely need to get some beers and some whiskies, telling stories. I could listen to your stories all night, but my missus will kick my ass if I'm out here any longer.
You go, mate. All right. Good luck. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
I'll send you the link when I've got it all sorted.
Yeah, no worries.
Nice
one. All right, buddy. Look after yourself, mate.
And you, mate. Stay
Cheers,
safe.
mate.
Cheers,
mate. Bye.